Hunter, how has financing for your 5 films evolved from the first one to now?
Okay. So for my first film, 10 Miles Per Hour, we financed it in large part with credit cards. Both Josh and I said, we can't find any sponsors, we don't know where the money's at. Put a lot of work into that, put a lot of energy into trying to get other people to help fund the film, and really blinked out. So we just took our credit cards and financed it, and we got to a point in the process where we needed to tap into a little bit of our retirement savings, which was nice that I had that available, because I know some people don't, and it's interesting because people are always so afraid to spend their retirement, but I found it really a freeing activity. Like, ultimately it's been a great way to use that investment to ultimately further my life and my experiences, which I think should be the right thing. So that was 10 Miles Per Hour. It was tough. We took a lot of our own money and just dumped it in and said, we've got to get this thing done, and we've got to make it and put it out to the market. Eventually, over the course of time with 10 Miles Per Hour, the money that we did, the hard cash that we actually spent on our credit cards and retirement was returned to us. So that was cool. All the sweat, I'd say, probably never totally got paid back. But it's nice to know that the film is still generating some revenue almost, 8 years or so after its release. So it's pretty cool. Second film, 10 Yards. We were actually, at this point in time, able to start looking at some sponsorships, and we were able to close some sponsorships, but it was pretty limited. I mean, we were talking $15,000 to $20,000, somewhere in that range of cash that we raised, but it took quite a bit of edge off with making the film. By this time, we had some of the camera equipment already. We'd invested some of that early money into sort of building a program. There was also some additional cash that was put in as sort of an investment from an individual, and so that was, again, we were in a place where all of a sudden there was a little bit of money, but we didn't quite have enough money to really round it out, get the film done, and then have enough left over for a launch. So we were burning all of the cash on production, which is probably the biggest challenge I think filmmakers face. Is we get a little bit of money somehow or another, and we blow it all to make this film. And then you're in this situation where, okay, the film's made, a lot of times people blow it all before they edit it, and then that's a really difficult position to be in. So I think, you really got to think that through and divvy it up and let people know early off that it's going to be a long time before they probably see money. So with 10 Yards, unfortunately, because we were putting all of the money that we received from these sponsorships and this individual, we were putting it all into, making the film and trying to market the film. We ended up spending more money of our own and getting a little bit further into debt. So after that film, I was in a tough place. Couldn't figure out how to make any money off that film. It was just my sophomore slump, and it was a really tough one. So moving on to my third film, Ride the Divide. I'm figuring things out. I'm realizing, okay, sponsorships, man, I know I can make these work better by this time. I had 2 examples, and I could sort of paint 10 Yards as a success to the sponsors when we went out to try to get money. So I worked with Mike Dion on this, and we went out and we actually raised quite a bit of sponsorship money, I'd say. I want to say around 50 grand, and then there was, again, private investment put into that film, probably equal amount in private investment. So we actually had a nice chunk of money that was put into that film. As we got closer to release, there was another little bit of investment that came in to finish it up. And so that film was great because we were in a situation where there was always cash, but we were very smart about not overspending cash. And most of that money is going into production, not really paying people. It's going into travel, it's going into, the aspects of post-production where you really need to hire expertise like sound and color correction, and just finishing the film and getting it really solid, being able to buy product and things like that so you can sell the film. So we had a great situation where when that film was done, there wasn't too much of that, money to pay back. There was a little bit, I think there was a little bit of debt/investment that was put into that film. And so we were able to pay that off quickly because the film was really successful and had, was by far my most profitable film so far that I've worked on. And it continues to do really well. And that film released 3 or 4 years ago, I think, about 3.5, and it's still doing really well. So it's pretty cool because it's like, we've passed that mark. Now it creates a revenue stream that I try to figure out ways not to use, but you know, inevitably I do at times to make sure I further my career. I keep reinvesting in my films. So moving on to the fourth film, that was Where the Yellowstone Goes, which was made in tandem with another film called Reveal the Path. And I have some ownership in each of those films, so we can kind of talk about both of those together. Essentially, Where the Yellowstone Goes was able to raise about $75,000 in sponsorship money. This is coming from basically corporate brands or a nonprofit, one nonprofit for corporate brands. And they put money into the film because they liked the message that told. We found ways to create some ancillary content and just kind of help, you know, use the film to drive at some of the messages they're trying to communicate and reach the same audience. Then we were also able to raise some crowdfunding money around the time that film was finished and ready for market, which helped it go to market. We took all the money we raised in crowdfunding and put it into pushing the film further out there and getting more screenings set up, which is scary to do because you're like, you work so hard and you're like, oh, all of a sudden we got $32,000 in the bank, and you're like, this is great, it's payday. But we look at it and we're like, it's not. It's almost like you keep putting this money in there one way or another. And so that film's also done really well, and it was nice that the minute it went to market, for the most part, I mean, there's a little bit maybe to pay off for like a month or two, but like it was like basically instant money that we were able to give back to the partners and the creators. At the same time, we made Reveal the Path, which it got more investment than sponsorship. It got a little bit of sponsorship, not as much as Where the Yellowstone Goes. I can't say the exact figure, but you know, it's less than $75,000. But it got also quite a bit of infusion of investment. It was a highly intensive, like, travel around the world film where we went to 5 different countries and shot. And so we were dealing with a more expensive film than Where the Yellowstone Goes. And so in the end, that film went to market and had a lot of money to pay back. And we're still at a point where we're paying that film back. So that's just kind of an example of how you gotta weigh all these things and be careful. If you can raise some money and really be careful about how you spend that money. And then, you know, try to get partners, creative partners on board who will benefit later. You can get to that money coming in quicker. And then finally, Walter. Walter is a very low budget film. A lot of sweat for both my wife and I. It's kind of a collaborative project where we came together as we were getting married and made this film. And so we had some investment, about $35,000 in investment to make the film. We used that cash and then raised $25,000 for its release, and put a lot of sweat and got some friends to help us out. So we've got our creative partner strategy, and we're now releasing it with not too much debt. We have some investment, but that's part of it kind of balances out with the creative partners as well. So I mean, we hope that by next year, or, you know, early next year, depending on how fast we push the release, because we've been thinking about kind of taking time, but we hope that film is paying everybody back, you know, soon. So it seems to be working, you know, but and keep in mind that Walter actually started before Where the Yellowstone Goes, so it kind of fits in there, and ultimately Where the Yellowstone Goes has led to another film, a whole river series, and one of the sponsors that was involved with that doubled their commitment to the next film and intends to do a series of more river films with us. So we're doing sort of the same sort of strategy where we keep a documentary that is essentially low cash budget, high sweat budget, and in the end has a quicker payout for the people that are involved, that are committed and take the chance.